Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this podcast on AI in education. I am Gwen and we are in the center of Belgium at UCLL in Leuven. And I am a project assistant on the Paideia project, and I have a lovely person with me today, and this is Kristina. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, hi, it's very nice to meet you, Gwen. If you don't mind, I'd like to start with a quick disclaimer.
Okay.
So, I'm not an expert in AI and I cannot offer ready made answers. AI is evolving very rapidly, and I do not have the necessary technical knowledge to predict its future capabilities. But what I can do today is to perhaps introduce teachers to the current academic debates about AI in education and also share some reflections. So let me introduce myself. I'm Kristina Krushinskaia. I'm a PhD student from KU Leuven, Belgium, at the Center for Instructional Psychology and Technology. And my supervisors are Professor Dr. Annelies Ras and Professor Dr. Jan Eilen. So our research focuses on the impact of artificial intelligence on the teacher's role transformation. And more specifically, we'll focus on how we could support teachers as designers of learning environments or as instructional designers with the means of generative AI.
So you focus on the instructional designer role of teachers in an AI era, to be concise.
That's correct.
Would you
Yeah.
mind telling us a bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So you know that teachers combine many roles in education.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're even sometimes called centipedes.
great metaphor.
And so, because teachers combine such roles as an subject matter expert, instructional designer, feedback provider, communicator with parents, I don't know, even researcher, and so on. So it is a very multifaceted profession. And in the literature, one of the most important roles is considered to be the role of an designer of learning environments or the role of an instructional designer. And this view emphasizes that learning is a goal-oriented activity. So when children learn to walk or when high school students learn to write a critical essay, the learning always has its goal.
Yeah.
So the teacher's role is to help students learn. Yeah, it's very easy. And to achieve the learning goals. So teaching can be considered as a design of systems that enable students to achieve learning goals. And the role of a teacher as an instructional designer is critically important for quality education. However, empirical research has revealed that teachers rarely engage in the explicit instructional design process and rarely rely on instructional design theories or models. And there can be several explanations for that. One of them is a lack of instructional design training in teacher education programs. But another reason is that instructional design is a very time consuming and a very challenging process for teachers. So they simply do not have time for this. And this is why in our research, we focus on the ways how we could support teachers in this role with the means of generative AI. Because right now, generative AI can offer a lot for instructional design. It can generate learning objectives. It can suggest learning activities, suggest assessment methods, teaching methods, and so on. So we are looking into the ways of the potential collaboration between generative AI and teachers in the role of instructional designers.
And is there a reason why you focus on teachers very specifically?
Yes, because I remember a quotation from Tennyson and Spector. They said that teachers are powerful and intelligent persons who mold minds and shape lives. So if we want to improve the quality of learning, we must improve the quality of teaching because teaching directly impacts learning. And indeed, not many studies in AI in education sphere focus on teachers, They usually focus on learners and neglect teachers, but I don't think this is the right approach because teachers still do make a difference. And research has shown that children taught by expert teachers learn more or better.
So it's quite interesting that you start focusing on the instructor and then the impact that has on the learners. But of course, this is a podcast on AI in education. Maybe the first question, AI, was it a revolution in education?
Oh, that's a nice question. Well, in order to answer it, we firstly need to define a revolution.
Yeah.
And we can potentially take this definition that a revolution is a sudden and a dramatic change in how people live and work. So at least three elements are present. It is sudden, dramatic, and it is a change. So was the arrival of generative AI sudden?
I would say yes. From 2022 on, everyone was like, oh, ChatGPT has dropped, and everyone panicked. It was everything has to change. AI is something new. It's something to be feared. But I might assume you feel the same way.
It's interesting that you're saying that the first feeling was the feeling of anxiety, like tech anxiety. From what I've observed, it was also mixed with the feeling of excitement.
I think for the students, it was mostly excitement. At least it was, oh, I don't have to write essays anymore. AI can do it now.
This is so problematic. This is the biggest question that AI has brought to education. How to ensure that learning still takes place?
But we're talking about that later. So
yeah, of course.
Sudden shift.
Yeah, it was very sudden, at least for people outside of computer science. And yeah, it was even hard to believe that now you can ask any question and immediately receive a pretty good personalized response, what can potentially save a lot of time for you. And was the proliferation of generative AI dramatic?
I would say yes, because you saw spikes in user use. I am using ChatGPT as an example again, but it was just the first one that came out. Now you have Claude, Copilot, Gemini.
It's true. Yeah, and ChatGPT, which is the most prominent generative AI tool, it spread just at a lightning speed and very widely. So it reached 1 million users in just 5 days after its launch, which is incredible for a new technology. And by now, it has reached more than 400 million weekly users.
And I think we can count ourselves within those users.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you count yourself in the first 1 million?
No, I was a student when ChatGPT dropped, so I was a bit hesitant, but the month after I joined as well. So
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Can understand. So yeah, its proliferation was definitely dramatic, and AI has become omnipresent, and it is used by students, teachers, programmers, artists. So I'm pretty sure that the teachers who are listening to this podcast have also clearly noticed that there is a new sheriff in town, and that that their students are also using AI right now. And most importantly, was it a change?
I think we both can say yes, was a change.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I would like to offer a more nuanced understanding here, because it was not a change in terms of the presence of digital support in students' lives. So before generative AI, they have been using the internet for many years, but the way generative AI works is fundamentally different because it can generate original content. So it is a huge change for education because now we have a new educational agent which can potentially support learning or can potentially hinder it.
That's the dilemma, is it not? I think you called it a double-edged sword at
Double-edged sword. Not me. It's just used in the literature. Yeah, a couple of metaphors are just present right now. Yeah, generative AI can help with personalizing learning, but at the same time, it can be used as a tool to avoid learning and avoid the hard work of putting in effort into learning. And no wonder that the main problem about generative AI has become plagiarism. So, wrapping this up, I think it makes sense to conceptualize it as a revolution in education, because it was a sudden and a dramatic change in how students learn and teachers teach. But it's interesting that not everyone agrees to frame it as a revolution. So, for instance, Larry Cuban.
Doesn't
No,
ring a bell, but I'm going to know him now.
yeah, he's a historian in education and historian of education and a professor at Stanford. And he noted that AI will not force practitioners to rethink how they teach. So, according to him, AI will be merely domesticated by teachers, so used for the same needs in an unchanged context. So, we'll not see any profound long-term changes. But what this view overlooks, I think, is that generative AI is very different from the previous educational technologies, because now it is not only in the hands of teachers, which has been like that with other educational technologies, but it's also in the hands of students. And yes, teachers will probably adapt it for their needs, but students will adapt it for their needs too, with an enormous potential for misuse. And this reality pushes us to rethink education as we know it, to ensure that learning still takes place.
So we can just summarize this portion by saying, yes, it was a revolution. And now the next part is, how should we deal with that revolution? But before we delve into that topic, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll see you all again.
Okay, see you soon.